to a billboard for 14 seconds and is displayed 3 times an hour. It's a novel way to be seen, be discovered, and to be remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call 909-222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293.
You've tuned in to KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
24 years of service as a law enforcement officer. A hometown, locally raised citizen, he cares about the community. And now, he's taking his passion for the law and order to the airwaves. It's time for Lieutenant Chad Bianco and the law in Riverside County. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Chad Bianco.
Good morning, Inland Empire, on another beautiful Saturday morning. A little after 10, great weather out in Southern California. It's all right that we're stuck inside, but only here for an hour, a very informative hour with me, Chad Bianco, and Riverside County Law. Thank you all for tuning in today, and if you tuned in last week, you'll know, or I'll tell you right now, that last week was our inaugural radio show, and we're coming on again every Saturday at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on KCAA. A little bit different this morning. Actually, I live in Riverside, so I had to drive out here to Redlands studio in Redlands, and the freeway was closed, so I got here right in time to step on the air and be able to talk to you guys. But I had a guest that was going to come in this morning. He had a family emergency, and let me know last night that he couldn't come on, so we're going to do things a little bit different than what was planned this morning. For those of you that don't know, I will remind you throughout the day, but my name is Chad Bianco, and I am your best candidate for Riverside County Sheriff in the June 5th election, 2018. This show is Chad Bianco and the law in Riverside County, but we do need to make it very clear here, or I need to make it very clear to you that we're talking about law enforcement in Riverside County, particularly the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and me and my run for sheriff in the 2018 election. And this radio station, or this radio show, is meant to inform you, to engage you, the community, and eventually we're going to start a major community engagement with law enforcement. And this show hopefully will get a little bit bigger, expand into more hot topics that we really need to talk about on the air and talk about with the community to engage law enforcement. But today, do a little things a little bit different than what I had planned, just because I'm by myself here, me and my outstanding producer. So we are going to, it's going to be an informative day. What I plan on doing is talking a little bit. Of course, I had something all planned out, and then on the drive, the 35-minute drive, 40-minute drive from Riverside, you think too much if your radio isn't up loud enough, and you come up with all different kinds of good plans and ideas. So we're going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to talk about a couple of pressing issues that not only is it the hottest topic of conversation when I travel around and meet groups of people, or even get hit up on email or Facebook or anything like that. Social media is great, but it also puts me at the fingertips of you, the general public, and I get asked lots of interesting questions. Some of them tough, some of them not so tough. But I encourage all of your questions so we can figure out the best ways to make Riverside County law enforcement great. We're going to break today's show up into a couple of different segments. Take a little break here and there, and continue this going. Just give us a little break so we can switch topics. But we'll talk about the number one thing I want to talk about is it was very pressing this week, and this not only is my number one topic of group speaking engagements, but it definitely made the news this week, the print news anyway, and it concerns CCWs. For those of you not familiar with the issue of CCWs, that is the licensing or the permit to carry a concealed weapon. It's Lots of people call it different things: concealed weapons permit, CCW, carry concealed weapon. But regardless, it's all the same, and it is basically the way you go about exercising your Second Amendment right to carry a concealed weapon. Legally, it is legal in California as long as you obtain a permit. So we're going to talk about that process today. We're going to talk about our failure in Riverside County to basically honor the wants and the needs of Riverside County residents by the current sheriff, and we can talk about how we can make it different. Again, this election in June is going to be, to paraphrase one of our local board of supervisors, this will be one of the most important elections for sheriff in the history of Riverside County. Now, the reason why that is so important is because for those of you that don't know out there, your sheriff's department, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, is in serious crisis. We have a sheriff that's been in office for 10 years, and we have had a steady decline in morale, an uptick in crime, and really we've continued along a same path of his mantra is we need to increase our budget, we need to demand more money from the Board of Supervisors, and we need to hire more deputy sheriffs. That's his answer for everything, and that's his reason for failing everything. So many of the issues that we talk about, there's several topics today, and they're kind of intertwined together, but we're going to start with concealed weapons. So in California, California has a statute that regulates concealed weapons permits, and it makes it very, very clear. Regardless of what the sheriff wants to tell you, regardless of what a very odd relationship with the current liaison to the NRA wants to tell you and misinform our current members in Riverside County, it is very easy to obtain, or it should be very easy to obtain, a concealed weapons permit from your sheriff. Currently, the wait in Riverside County to apply for a CCW is 2 years. And there's an argument back and forth. The current sheriff is saying that it's 18 months. We were at a debate that kind of went, well, depends on, it was fine. It showed that the sheriff is either a little bit dishonest in his representation of fact, or he is so disconnected with our department that he really doesn't know what we are doing. So the wait, if you call in right now, you're going to have an appointment sometime in the spring of 2020. What that means is, if you desire a concealed weapons permit, you call up the sheriff's department, you can download the application, and basically you call them and you have to make an appointment to turn your application in. That appointment is being made in 2020. That is completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable from the public, and the public outcry in gun forums and online and Facebook, and even in the meetings that I talk to, the community meetings that I'm going out and addressing, that wait is not acceptable. Now, what we have to make it perfectly clear is that wait does not happen in San Bernardino. That wait does not happen in Orange County, because you have very pro Second Amendment and pro concealed weapons permit sheriffs in those two counties. And they are honoring the desire of their constituents, of the residents of their county that they are supposed to be sworn to protect, and they are taking care of their duty as outlined in the law to issue CCW permits for those that are qualified. And I want to make it very clear right now. First off, while we're talking, since I'm by myself here, if you guys have any questions concerning this, I want you to call in, ask your questions. KCAA Radio, the number is 888-909-1050. 888-909-1050. And again, I'm Chad Bianco. This show is Chad Bianco and the Law in Riverside County, but we are speaking about the next election, and I happen to be your best choice for Sheriff of Riverside County on numerous issues, including this one that we're talking about right now, CCWs. So the law in California makes it perfectly clear that you should download the state application, fill out the application, and contact your sheriff or local law enforcement head to obtain a CCW permit. And it specifically outlines that you will fill out no other application. That application that you can download from the state is the only thing that you need. And then you go in and you turn that information in. They run a background check. They make sure that you're not prevented by law or by some type of mental condition. And then you should be issued a permit. Now, the sticking point where for wordsmiths, the current sheriff is a wordsmith, and he likes to twist words and twist phrases and twist his favorability of CCWs to try and convince you to vote for him because he knows it's a big issue in Riverside County. But California is considered a may issue state. There's two different kinds of states, may issue and shall issue. California is a may issue state. What that means is if you're qualified, if you're not disqualified for any mental or criminal histories in your background, the sheriff or head law enforcement agent may issue you a permit. And it's completely up to their discretion. That is why every county in the state is different. Some counties don't issue. Los Angeles County right now, it is extremely difficult to get a permit there because that sheriff does not believe in concealed weapons permits. Counties like Orange County, with a great sheriff and undersheriff that are currently running that department, are very CCW friendly, and they have issued about 13,000 permits in the last 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. 13,000 permits in 3 years. That's a great job because they are trying to meet the demands of their constituents, of the residents of Orange County. San Bernardino is in the same boat. They've got about 10,000, somewhere around that number. We, on the other hand, in Riverside County, have 3,000. 3,000. 2.4 million people in the county. We're roughly the same size as Orange County and San Bernardino, but yet we are dwarfed in number of CCW permits. And instead of the fact that the sheriff does not want to issue CCW permits, he blames his lack of permits on money. Everything is blamed on the Board of Supervisors. It's their fault for not giving him enough money to staff the CCW program. We're going to talk a little bit on how that just is not true. The Second Amendment is obviously a very highly controversial issue in the country today, especially with school shootings and our right to keep and bear arms. But for purposes of this right here, I want to break the Second Amendment into two parts. There's two different parts. There is the right to keep and the right to bear. And the current sheriff believes that you do have the right to keep arms. He likes guns. He likes buying guns, and he believes that everybody should be able to buy a gun and keep it in your house, locked up in a safe as an ornament. He does not believe that the average citizen, the normal resident of Riverside County, should be allowed to carry a gun. He believes that it is nothing but a liability, and he believes that only police officers should carry firearms. But he uses he's a wordsmith, like I mentioned before, and he uses very creative ways of describing his support for the Second Amendment, and he uses phrases like "it's well documented" or "it's on the record my firm support of the Second Amendment." It's always the Second Amendment, which is true, but he will never say, "I believe that you have the right to carry a gun and that I should issue you permits." He'll never say that. What he will say is, "I encourage everyone to apply. I have a great record." He's touted a 99% acceptance rate, issue rate for applicants, which is completely not true. That's another wordsmith play on facts. Dishonesty is a play on facts, but it's probably safer to say it's just a play on facts. But back to the CCW issue. California makes it very clear. It is up to the sheriff to decide if you get a CCW permit. My belief is, I am a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I am a firm believer that the only thing that protects our First Amendment rights is the Second Amendment. And I believe that the Founding Fathers believe that also. The Second Amendment is in place, in my opinion, because of the lives and the lifestyle and the environment that our Founding Fathers were in. They know that a tyrannical government must be prevented at all costs. Government can turn on their people, and the right of the people to defend themselves against that government was the purpose of the Second Amendment. So, obviously, Second Amendment of the Constitution, it is extremely important, and the issue right now is whether or not people should be allowed to carry concealed weapons. Again, we are a may issue, which makes it completely up to the sheriff. So I want to throw out some numbers for you, just to show that the current sheriff is not CCW friendly like he says. And then I'm going to, I have very good friends in law enforcement that currently work in other agencies' CCW program, and they issue permits, and the people in the know, the people inside law enforcement, the ones that are doing these investigations, we know the truth about our current sheriff. We know the truth that Riverside County Sheriff's Department does not want to issue CCWs. And he is purposely fabricating a 2-year wait to dissuade you from applying. And then once you apply, they do their best to talk you out of it when you get into the interview, because they don't want to take your money, and they tell you, you're not going to qualify with this statement of good cause. That is a requirement by the state, but good cause is up to the discretion of the sheriff. The current sheriff does not believe that your safety or the safety of your family is important enough to issue you a CCW permit. My opinion here, based on people that have CCWs that I'm aware of, the sheriff believes that if you donate a lot of money to his campaign, he will, or if you have the ability to influence social media in his favor, then he will issue you a CCW permit, and probably in a timely manner, 2 to 3 months. But if not, if you're a normal, regular resident of Riverside County, you're going to wait your 2.5 years, and then you may not even be able to apply because they're going to talk you out of spending your money. And they're going to tell you, you're not going to qualify, you're not going to issue your permit, you should save your money. It's a lot. It's upwards of $300 or more. And if you're not going to get it, why would you want to waste your money? So those people walk out the door. Technically, they never applied, and that is how the sheriff maintains his 99% rate. But now let me tell you in his own words and his own numbers, and I'm going to have to just pick some numbers that he put in the media a couple, maybe it was a month ago, because as I travel around in this election cycle and we're talking together, the sheriff and I, in forums or whatnot, his numbers always change. So he's not even sure what his numbers are, and honestly, I don't think he cares. But we're going to go off of what he put in print, that when he took office in 2010 or 2007, there was 600 permits, 600 concealed weapons permits in California, or in Riverside County, and now there are 3,000. Off of his own numbers, that's a 2,400 permit increase in 10 years. That's 240 permits per year. We have 2 employees working that unit, so that's 120 permits per year per deputy, and those deputies work 265 days a year. So what are they doing the rest of the time? That means they are only issuing 1 permit every 2.2 days. Or they're only processing an application every 2.2 days, because the sheriff has already told you that he approves 99% of the applicants. So if that's true, that means that they are processing an application every 2.2 days. Now, there are so many things wrong with that. Those are his facts. Those are his numbers, his statistics. And that should show you right there that he has failed. When Orange County has done 13,000 in 3 years, and San Bernardino is up to 10,000 under their current sheriff, and Riverside County has 2,400 in 10 years, that is proof positive right there that you have a sheriff that is not interested in making a difference here. So, couple of things of the failure and the proof in our department that the sheriff is anti-CCW. And keep in mind, if you're just joining us, my name is Chad Bianco, and this is Chad Bianco in the law in Riverside County. And the most important aspect of the show is that we have an election coming up in June, and I am running for the office of sheriff. And since you're all going to find out if you're informed and if you look into this election, I am your best candidate on this topic as well as numerous others. So I need your vote on June 5th. Again, Chad Bianco, candidate for Riverside Sheriff. I'm currently a lieutenant with the department. So back to the CCWs. The sheriff will blame anyone other than his own failure for the CCW issue. He has blamed the Board of Supervisors for lack of money and lack of personnel. He has blamed terrorists because they caused too many people to apply. He has blamed the people for applying because too many apply at once. He's also even blamed the people that already have permits because they have to renew, and that causes him to be more busy. Everything is someone else's fault because he doesn't want to admit it's his. So this is a very heated election. Very heated election. Let me take you back to 2014. We talked about the same topics. In 2014, during a debate between the sheriff and I, a woman approached him about his lack of CCW issuance and the 18-month wait to apply for a CCW. He told her that was nonsense, and he told her to apply, and his same story of, I encourage you to apply. But in 2014, it was an 18-month wait. She was very vocal. She was very pro-me in the 2014 election, and she made it well known that the sheriff was not going to issue her a permit. She waited her 18 months. She was very vocal on social media, so she was a liability for the sheriff. And after her 18-month wait, she got her permit. She deserved her permit. And but that's a highlight that back in 2014 it was a 18-month or more wait. There are other social media platforms that were saying back in 2014 it was a 2-year wait. So it varies obviously depending on who applied and when they applied and if they got an earlier date. But it was 18 months to 2 years. But the sheriff wants you to believe that that wait was only established in 2015, in December of 2015, because of a terrorist attack. It's because he needed something else to blame it on. We currently have two deputy sheriffs that are working in our CCW unit. Now, they do a good job. I've worked with them since we were deputies 25 years ago. They do a great job. However, they have a great assignment. They want to keep that assignment. So they will not give any information that is negative towards a CCW permit. They won't give any information that's positive toward the CCW unit because they know that if they tell the truth, they will be placed back in patrol, and they don't want to be in patrol. They have a special assignment right now, working weekdays in an office, and really, if we go off of the numbers, they're not too busy. But if you look at surrounding counties, they don't have deputies working their unit. They don't have sworn employees working their unit. It is a complete mismanagement, waste of money. They have civilians doing it, or they have retired individuals that come back, work temporary assignments for far less pay than a full-time employee. And in a time when the sheriff complains of the lack of deputies in county areas, why would he have 2 deputy sheriffs in that unit to begin with? Absolutely makes no sense. It just shows that he wants complete control of that unit. He does not want to increase the number. And it's caused him some problems because right now crime is going up. People do not feel safe in their homes. People do not feel safe outside, and they want CCW permits. It doesn't matter. It's interesting. It doesn't matter which groups I talk to. I can talk to women's groups. I can talk with older Republican women's groups where, you know, the oldest lady so far has been 93 years old. She asked about CCW permits, and college kids. But the number one topic always in every group is CCW permits and the 2-year wait. And he has had to answer to that since at least in this election cycle at least, but also since 2014 when I raised this issue before in the last election. And it's always he doesn't have personnel and he doesn't have money. So the reason why this came up today and why I chose to talk about this today is because this week the sheriff again showed how he has completely mismanaged this department. And while he complains of lack of personnel, while he complains there are no deputies, while his answer for everything, why is crime high? Because he can't hire personnel. Why do I not have deputies answering my calls for service? It's the Board of Supervisors' fault because they won't give me money to hire personnel. So we find out this week that out of complete mismanagement of our budget, the Sheriff's Department budget, he miraculously found $10 million. And he came up with some crafty little statement of how fourth quarter freed up some extra money. $10 million worth of extra money. Now, the problem with him being dishonest and just being a politician that will say and do anything for an election is this is what you have to know about $10 million. A couple of months ago, he threatened the Board of Supervisors with not opening the jail in Indio because he needed $7 million to hire 70 deputies for the staffing at the Indio jail. So if we go off his own numbers, $100 million or $10 million would be 100 deputies. So what that means is your Board of Supervisors, the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, gave the sheriff that $10 million to provide a service to the residents of Riverside County. That service is in the form of deputy sheriffs out working their neighborhoods, answering calls for service, preventing crime, answering crime reports, those types of issues, working our jails, working our courts, whatever the case may be. And the sheriff failed to maintain his staffing by 100 deputies. Does that make sense to anyone? I hope that no one out there thinks that this is anything other than a political ploy because he's being beat down in the media and in online areas because of his mismanagement of the budget and because of his failure to provide the necessary means of taking care of this CCW issue. So he has come up with $10 million, and this is what he said he's going to do. He miraculously found $10 million. It was magic. It just appeared. And he's going to hire now temporary employees to staff that unit. So here's the issue that everyone should have with that. We've always had temporary employees in the department. They're cheaper. They're part-time employees that do not, you don't pay the exorbitant costs of hiring a full-time employee. So it's nicer. They're part-time. They're lots less money than a full-time employee. We've always had them. Well, he's been, during this process, this campaign process, we've talked about his, he only hires his friends. He hires people that are retired, that are his friends, that he wants to double dip, or he wants to allow to double dip, if you want to use that term. While they're collecting their retirement, they double dip and take another salary from the county of Riverside. And they, it's a select group. And during this campaign, it was brought out numerous times that that select group really doesn't do anything. They're just here as consultants. They're here, whatever. Internally, we don't know what they do. They're consultants. They sit on boards. We see them at coffee. We see them, conversing with employees every now and then, but they really don't serve a purpose. So because of that, a couple of months ago, he said that he had to eliminate all of the TAP employees to save money. So he had to eliminate all his friends. Now, miraculously, he found $10 million, so he's going to hire his friends back. And instead of putting them in those worthless spots that they were in before, he is going to put them in the CCW unit so he can try and mitigate the damage that he has done to the concealed weapons community. It's a political ploy, folks. I know it. I hope you know it. I hope you see right through it. He said that he hopes he's able to continue it after the election. Well, of course he does. It's going to stop right after the election. He's going to say the money dried up. And instead of hiring 100 deputies for that CCW program unit, or putting those 100 deputies in your community to provide you the service that you deserve and demand and need, he's going to hire his 5 or 6 temporary employees to work on the backlog of the CCW program, which, by the way, we've already talked about. There is no backlog. It's by design. He's made it go there. But he's going to put his friends in the unit, and he'll have complete control again with the information that gets let out. It's all a political ploy. You, the County of Riverside, deserve a sheriff that is completely and 100% a fan of the Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I'm a benefactor member of the NRA. I hope my wife is not listening right now, but I donate a lot of money to the NRA. I believe in the cause, and I believe in the issues that we have with gun owners and gun rights. I've already stated my position that I believe that every person that demands, let me rephrase that. That's not my position. Every person that applies and desires a CCW permit that is not prevented by law or mental condition should and will obtain a CCW permit under my leadership. I believe that a right delayed is a right denied. And I believe that we are denying you your right, your Second Amendment right, unnecessarily by delaying the process for you to even apply. This is a hot topic. There's 3 people that you should be concerned about running in this election. There's the current sheriff, who we've already, I hope in this, I mean, it's gone a lot longer than what I thought. Almost 40 minutes of telling you that our CCW program has failed. The $10 million is a ploy. He has no desire to issue permits, or he could have done it long ago. One thing that I got on a little bit of a tangent, I forgot to mention, Riverside County Sheriff's Department has 2 sworn employees processing backgrounds. No other department has them. So if he really cared about staffing in the county, he would send those 2 deputies back to patrol, and he would have non-sworn office staff processing those applications, just like every other department around us. They save money. Why is San Bernardino's concealed weapons permit unit not having issues? Why is Orange County's not having issues? It's because they have a sheriff that cares, that wants to answer the requests and the needs of his of the residents of that county, and they take care of those, or hers. The current sheriff in Orange County, Sandra Hutchins, is a female, so of his or her county, and we are proof positive that our sheriff just does not want to. He does not want to fix anything. He does not want to make it better. He could have done this 10 years ago, and now, because it is a serious campaign issue, in the 11th hour he's finding money, and he's going to say he's going to fix it now, and he hopes that he can continue it after the election, but we all know that that's not going to happen. There are a lot of things that you hear when the sheriff talks about CCWs. He acts like he is not just going to issue them like candy. Well, Of course you're not. I mean, that would be irresponsible, and it would be irresponsible of me as the sheriff to say that I would do that. You're not going to get a permit unless you show that you're a good person, you're not a criminal, and you don't have any. You're not suffering from any mental illness issues. But with that, my personal belief is that I align with shall. I align with the shall issue, that if you are not prevented, then I will give you a permit. That is a shall statement. I do not believe it's a may statement. I do not believe that my personal opinion of you, whether I like you or not, whether you like me on Facebook, whether you follow somebody else, or whether you support someone else in this election, should affect that issue. I got an interesting, had an interesting conversation this last week, because we talk about CCWs all the time. And a person, and he gave me permission to use his story. I'm not going to mention his name, but I want to highlight for all of you out there that are on the fence with this and believe the sheriff and continue to want to believe the sheriff. A person has had a permit for 6 years, roughly 6 years, in Riverside County. He and his wife obtained a CCW permit, and they have had it for 6 years. Well, currently you have to apply every 2 years to renew that license. And he and his wife applied. The wait was so long that their license expired. But shortly after expiration, his wife got her permit. She was issued her extension. The husband was not. Nothing in either of their lives have changed. Nothing on their applications has changed. Nothing should have prevented him from getting that CCW permit renewed. The only thing that has happened is he has voiced his concern on social media, in gun groups, on Facebook, about the current wait being unacceptable, the sheriff needing to do something about it, the lack of concern for the sheriff, and he has gone so far as to voice his support of me, because in the gun community, if you're a real gun community person, if you are a real gun rights person, you know that I am by far and above the best candidate for sheriff. He has gone so far, this gentleman has gone so far as to outwardly support me on social media. So with that, he has not gotten his renewal for his CCW permit, and he has tried repeatedly over the last several weeks, over a month, to find out why, and his answer is always, it's in review. It's in review. It's in review. Well, why is it in review? Because he's not been convicted of a crime, he doesn't have mental issues, and nothing has changed in his personal life from what it was when it was approved before, other than he likes me on Facebook and he is supporting me in this election. So the current sheriff, the tyrannical, narcissistic sheriff, is withholding his CCW permit because of a personal belief and a personal dislike for someone, because they are going against the sheriff in an election season. I think that is horrible. I don't expect everyone to, in the next election, after I win this election with your help, June 5th, by voting for Chad Bianco for sheriff in Riverside County, after I win this election, in the next election, if someone wants to run against me and someone wants to support them, more power to them. That's what is the beauty of the United States of America. We can support anyone we want in politics, and that's how we keep politics from being corrupt. When you have a sheriff that dictates his own personal agenda and his own personal likes and feelings, there's another red flag about that sheriff, and maybe proof that that sheriff has a little bit too much power in his head, and he needs to be replaced. So I do not believe that my personal feelings for any person should affect whether or not you obtain a CCW permit. You either are able to get it or you're not. Criminally and mental or not criminally and mental. Those are the two aspects. You have to be a good moral character, which that means you're not a criminal and you're not mentally unstable, and you have to have a good cause statement to obtain a CCW unit in California. That good cause statement is the reason why you feel you need a concealed weapons permit. Currently, the sheriff will tell everyone that they need to craft a statement. Well, in my opinion, you're committing fraud on a government document, because if you can't come in and say why you believe you need that permit because he's going to deny it, and he's telling you to craft one, that's unethical in itself. So the issue of CCWs in Riverside County, it should be no different than San Bernardino, and it should be no different than Orange County. The denominator that makes it not the same is two of those sheriffs, and those are Orange County and San Bernardino County, believe that it is the right of a citizen to carry a CCW with a permit issued by them. The Riverside County Sheriff does not. You have to be wealthy. You have to show a monetary need, some type of life-threatening need, above and beyond everyone else. So if you are not, if you're just a regular upstanding citizen, you are being discriminated against by the current sheriff based on no one specifically threatened your life, or you don't carry large amounts of cash, or you're not a diamond dealer carrying diamonds to and from your car every day. What if you're just a normal citizen that goes to work every day, normal resident of Riverside County? You go to work every day, you have a family, you're afraid for your family, you're afraid for the safety of your family. We've already told you, the sheriff has already told you that he has no law enforcement out there to help you. How are you supposed to help yourself? The upstanding law-abiding citizen wants to apply for a CCW permit. They want to obtain that permit, and they want to be able to protect their family. They want to be able to protect themselves and their family. And I believe that that is the absolute best reason that you can have to want to carry a gun. Now, I also believe that a criminal is not going to walk into the sheriff's department and say, "Mr. Sheriff, can I please give you all of my personal information? You can take my fingerprints. I can fill out all this information. Will you please allow me to carry a gun?" A criminal is not going to do that. The normal resident, the normal citizen, the normal Riverside County voter is going to want to be legal about it. They want to do the right thing, and they are going to come in and do everything by the book. Criminals break the law anyway. That's why they're criminals. So when you apply for a CCW permit, I didn't talk. We've got a few more minutes, so I'll talk about the difference. The 3-year wait, I've overemphasized probably, or the 2-year wait, but I want to make it perfectly clear. It is a fabricated wait by the sheriff that does not want to issue CCWs. Proof positive is our surrounding counties and Riverside County's lack of permits to begin with. One of my really good friends is a retired Orange County sheriff, and he works part-time in their CCW unit. And he told me on Tuesday that there's roughly about 12 of them that operate in that unit, and they are civilian employees in a part-time basis, and they run their program. He told me that right now in Orange County, it is completely possible for you to apply and be issued for your CCW in the same day. You can walk into your appointment and walk out with a concealed weapons permit. And let me tell you why. It is that easy. San Bernardino and Orange County are not skirting the process. Riverside County is not doing some special, top secret, in-depth background investigation into every applicant. What we do is we send your fingerprints in to be checked through a database, the DOJ database, and as long as it comes back negative, that means you're of good moral character. As long as you have a reason that's acceptable to carry that gun, your personal safety or the safety of your family, then you should get that permit. Orange County allows you to submit your fingerprints, take your classes, your handgun safety classes that are required, and then make your permit, or you make your application, your date, your interview for your permit. If those other issues have, or if those other items have been taken care of, when you walk into that permit, they do a local background check on you. You cannot do a criminal background check on a person for employment or for license, for any type of obtaining a license. All you can do is check locals. You can't go in depth into their background. That is what the fingerprints are for. So when you walk into the Riverside County Sheriff's Department or the Orange County Sheriff's Department, you get the same background check. You walk in, they talk to you, they go over your application, they run you through the computer system, it comes up negative, you're done. If you've taken care of those other items, you walk out with your permit. Riverside County could be that simple. My friend said that it roughly takes about 30 minutes. So you could obtain your CCW permit in 30 minutes if you had a sheriff that cared about your rights and about the process and about making the process better. There's nothing special or wazoo that they're doing anything different other than they care. So what I want all of you to realize is that is my belief. My belief is that your history and your future dictate your ability to get a CCW permit, not my personal belief of you. And if you want to go if we want to talk about what I feel about the Second Amendment and what I feel about CCWs, we've gone into that a little bit. I'm completely for it, and I believe that I am the only applicant that is completely for it. The current sheriff has proven he's not, and we need to get over this money issue because it's fabricated. There is another candidate, Chief Dave Brown. Now, Chief Dave Brown is a great man. He's a good man. I like him a lot. As a person, we get along good, and he is a good man, and he was a good chief of police in Hemet. Concerning this issue, though, like I mentioned in the very beginning, the state allows the sheriff or the chief of police to issue permits. So while Chief Brown was a chief of police of Hemet, he was completely against CCW permits. He would not issue them. He told everyone to go to the sheriff. He has told some people that he doesn't believe that they should be able to carry guns. And he had no desire to issue permits as a chief of police until one day when he decided he was going to run for sheriff in the mid-year last year. And because he knows that this issue is a strong emotional issue in Riverside County, he had to change his position. So right before he retired as chief of police of Hemet, he decided that he would say that he is now pro-CCW and that the chief of police of Hemet will now issue permits. I think that's a political ploy. If he really cared, he could have done it years ago. Other police chiefs do, but he chose not to. So I hope that you see right through that as we get into the last final month before the June 5th election for Sheriff of Riverside County. And if this is your issue, if CCW is your issue, I really am your only choice. Chad Bianco is your only choice for sheriff in the June 5th, 2018 election for Riverside County Sheriff. Now, over the next couple of weeks, we used up my whole time talking about CCWs. I can talk about this forever. One thing that I really do need to mention, speaking of CCWs, I am leaving here, and I am going to be spending the rest of the day at Riverside Indoor Shooting Range down in Riverside, the west end of Riverside, right off of the 91 freeway. The address is 11631 Sterling Avenue, Riverside Indoor Shooting Range. The owner's Tom Reese and his wife Heather. Great people, unbelievable people in the firearms community. They've got a great range there. They also accommodate one of my other passions, which is archery. My wife and I are going to have our bows there. We'll be shooting this afternoon. We'll be shooting our handguns. My daughter told me that she's probably even going to be there. But I want to encourage you all to come out, and I want you to ask me about these questions. I want you to ask about our CCW program. I want you to ask about my beliefs of the Second Amendment and about firearms. So I'm going to be there at the Riverside Indoor Shooting Range today, right after this show till probably 4 or 5 o'clock. Also, it happens to be Wick's Brewing in Riverside. It happens to be their anniversary, and they're having a anniversary sale today, celebration today, and they're right across the street from the shooting range. So after we spend a day at the range, we're going to go over and get something to eat at Wick's. Great place, great bunch of people there. But Tom Reese and his wife Heather at Riverside Indoor Range, you guys need to get in there. You need to. It's a great range to shoot at. They're unbelievably professional and safe at that place. I want to give a little shout out to Heather. Heather has a group of that she heads, that she supports, a large group of women shooters. And this group, she encourages every woman to take part in this, to learn about guns, to learn about gun safety, to learn about firearms, and to take up the shooting sports. And there are women in this group from every experience level, from those that have never seen a gun before to those that are expert shooters that compete in competitions. Heather is a great lady. Tom is a great instructor, and they take good care of you there. Heather's group is called the Well-Armed Woman. The website, I believe, the major website, a nationwide website, is Well-Armed Women, and you can find her on Facebook, her Well-Armed Woman site. Her name is Heather Reese. They meet here the second Tuesday night of every month. So I encourage all of you to get down there. Come on down today, see what they've got to offer as far as their facilities there. It's a great range. It's a great indoor range that even offers an archery range on the side. Come on down, talk to me, learn a little bit more about me, learn a little bit more about the CCW program, about handguns, about gun ownership, responsible gun ownership. So just for sure wanted to give a shout out to the Riverside Indoor Shooting Range, and I'll be there from probably about 11:30 till roughly around 4 o'clock. So come on down and talk to me there. So to finish up here, what we're talking about, we took the whole hour about concealed weapons permits. I don't say this enough while we're talking. I get a little passionate in my argument about this, but if you tune in late, or if you're just tuning in, you're catching the end of the show. My name is Chad Bianco. This is Chad Bianco in the Law in Riverside County, and what this show is about is the highlight of law enforcement at the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. And the real purpose is to educate you and inform you on this upcoming election that's going to be the most important election for sheriff in the history of Riverside County. And I encourage all of you to start getting informed if you're not already. Look into all of the candidates. I'm sure you will find that Chad Bianco is your far and above best choice for your next sheriff of Riverside County. We are in crisis for many issues that we're going to be talking about in the next coming weeks. I took up all of our time today with CCWs, but we've got serious budget issues. We've got serious personnel issues where our deputies are leaving left and right. And, we need to stop that. We need to fix the morale issues in our department that are causing us to be depleted. And we've got budget issues that we're not getting along with the Board of Supervisors. We're finding $10 million at the end of the year, which means we failed to provide you 100 deputies throughout the rest of the year, while we were complaining that we don't have enough deputies to provide you service. So we are in a crisis in the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and I am here to offer you a solution. I do want to just give a shout out to my endorsements and the people that are supporting me. So if you are a resident of Riverside County, you need to be aware that the law enforcement professionals, that the men and women that are working hard every day to provide you a law enforcement service, are supporting me in this election. Your Riverside County Sheriff's deputies are supporting me and endorsing me in this election. Your police agencies in Riverside County are supporting me and endorsing me in this election. I recently received the endorsement of the California Correctional Peace Officers Association, not only for the numerous prisons they have in Riverside County, but there's a lot of those employees, they all live in Riverside County. And they're all concerned about their families, their wives, their kids, and they are all endorsing me. So a telling aspect of this election is the current sheriff has lost all of the support of Riverside County law enforcement and all of the support of the leadership, law enforcement leadership in the county of Riverside. And that support is thankfully for me, it's coming to me. I truly appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to earning that in the years to come. But again, this is Chad Bianco and the law in Riverside County. I need to encourage all of you to vote on June 5th, become informed in this election, and look into me. And I really need and want your support in this election. So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back again next week at 10 o'clock here on KCAA. And keep in mind, you can find the podcast. You can reach me online, ask me any questions you want to talk about for next week. And thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3